I would like to thank Debjani that joined us today. For those of you who haven't seen maybe a couple of the other videos, my name is Itai Sharfi. I've been in the high-tech space for about 2 years now. I'm an adjunct professor. What I'm interested in is inspiring and also educating people about the many paths to develop careers in the software space. How do you get there, and what are some of those opportunities? And I'm very happy about this interview. Debjani, thank you for agreeing to come and share some of your information, some of your experience. You had a very successful career in the software content space. We met while we worked at Moody's. Back then it was RMS, where you were senior director for content development. And content development is a very large area. Many people are not quite familiar with it. When people think software, sometimes people don't know what much else is there besides software development. And the area of content has a lot of career opportunities that, again, people are unaware of. I've met some very talented people working there over the years. Seems like they're having fun. And also seems like they have a very strong careers, and not all of them had like a classic software development or CS background. So very happy to hear about that. So let's start with, can you tell a bit about yourself and what do you do?
Sure. So I'm Debjani Sen. I'm a content experience director at Salesforce, where I lead a team of technical writers, managers, and content specialists. I've been in this field, technical documentation, for about 23 years now, and I've loved it so far. It's been a great journey where I started as a technical writer and individual contributor. And then when I got an opportunity to move into management, I jumped right in. And so I've been doing this for a long time now.
Yeah, and maybe for those who are not quite familiar, what do tech writers do? What is their role in an org?
Yeah. So a technical writer is responsible for building new content for products or services that's either out in the market or being developed for launch. It can take many forms. So you can build online help, videos, podcasts, and more. Our field has evolved over the last 2 decades. And so typically, technical writing has involved things like building procedures or task-based information. It can be conceptual as well. It can be reference. It takes many different forms. And tasks typically include researching and learning about product capabilities, testing how it works, and then writing about how it actually works. And the process involves working with many subject matter experts to understand functionality so that the writers who write about the product can help our customers get their specific jobs done. And the aim is to solve a specific business problem.
Interesting. And what made you become a tech writer? How did you end up in tech writing?
So my background is in English literature, and I came across this profession when I was debating whether to go to law school or design school. So I decided to take some classes in tech writing, and there was a program that San Jose State was offering. And so I signed up and took classes, and I really enjoyed many aspects of the program, one of which was being able to influence the design of a product. So I completed the course. It was about a 12-month course. And then I landed my first job as a technical writer at AT&T Labs. And 23 years later, here I am.
That's pretty cool. So I think that you mentioned that your background was as an English major. Would you say that a significant number of people that go into tech writers come from disciplines like maybe like English or other type of non-classic CS backgrounds?
Yeah, many of them do. So many of them have come into the profession, folks with a background in history, communications, journalism is a pretty common field that folks come into this field with. So yeah, not you don't have to be an engineer or a computer science major to get into this field, and that's the great thing about this career, is that you can explore the paths you want to take. If you do have a background in computer science, there is an area in tech writing called developer documentation that you can focus in on. But again, it's not a requirement to get into this.
Interesting. Yeah, I did meet a lot of people that studied linguistics. Apparently,
Yes.
a lot of I met
Yeah,
some.
sure.
Yeah, and so this is interesting. So let's say that somebody who's listening is an English major,
Mhm.
and tech writing, I think, as you described and as I'm familiar with, can be very technical. So how do you know if you studied English that would be something that maybe is fit to your capabilities and fit for your passion to go and do something so much deep into computer science?
Mhm. Well, you have to love technology. So that's a given if you're exploring this field, because you have to work with computers, you have to understand some of the basics of computer applications. So when I was doing my program at San Jose State studying technical writing, I was also taking classes in some computer science areas. So I took some JavaScript classes, I took some Java classes just to get an understanding of the basics of computer science so that I could easily grasp some of the concepts that I was writing about. So if you don't have a passion for science or computer science, then this might be a hard field to get into. But if you love it and if you have a love for learning, you know, you would probably enjoy something like this. But you do have to have some knowledge and some understanding and some interest to do, you know, to do well in this profession.
So something that's interesting is, let's say that someone is an English major and they're looking to get their first role in tech writing. What would be the way for them to maybe demonstrate that they might be a good fit? One of the things is that maybe, unlike maybe in CS, that where development is kind of a natural evolution of maybe some development that you've done and projects that you've done and internships
Mhm.
that you've done during during your degree. How would that work with tech writing in your first
So
job?
you have to be an exceptional, yeah, you have to be an exceptional communicator. And the way I landed my first job was to show the projects that I had worked on. So I took a combination of some of the writing projects I had done when I was doing my tech writing certification program, and showed that in my portfolio to some of the companies that I was interviewing with, just to give them a sense of how well I can write, because that is essential. And when you're writing about a product or an application or a service, you have to be able to um, be unafraid and get knee deep in the product itself so that you can break it apart and put it back together again and write about it.
Mm.
So I took some of those class projects and showed those to my employer, and my first manager who hired me actually gave me many opportunities to explore the field. And one of the things she did was to give me an option to just go beyond building tech docs, and she actually had me build a website. Um, because she knew that I had an interest also in a little bit of coding, not a lot, but that's how I got started with online help development, which is one very key aspect of technical writing.
Mm. So you mentioned online development. Does tech writing has different like disciplines? So for example, in software, there is front end, back end, networking, hardware, lots of different disciplines. Do those exist in tech writing? And maybe how would someone think about that?
Yeah, so you have focus areas in tech writing. So you can do pure tech writing, which is just about building content that allows you to um, write about a specific feature. Then you can also focus on online help development, which allows you to um, focus in on areas that are tied to a product. So when you launch a product and you click the question mark help, you get specific content that's relevant for that application. So that's another area. And then you could also hone in on video development. That's another area of tech writing, which has picked up steam in the last couple of years because people would rather watch a 30-second video than read 20
Hmm.
pages of documentation. So definitely lots of areas. Developer documentation is also very um, interesting because it allows you to work with engineers who code, and you build documentation that sometimes can be auto-generated, but you still have to edit the developer documentation, and that does require some level of understanding of coding. So that's a very specialized field. Most folks have to know how to code to get into that, but that's also another area of tech writing, which is very much in demand these days.
Hmm. Interesting. And by the way, are there significant number of internships in tech writing? Is that something that is common? Do you see people in tech writing getting involved with, let's say, open source, which has a large portion of the documentation associated with this? How can someone, let's say, in a university can get more kind of live experience?
Yeah, I do see a lot of internship postings. So typically, large companies will post openings for interns who are interested in, developer documentation. We're interested in building content for not just the product, but also maybe um, areas of marketing. That's another area that people can switch to if they want to move um, out of tech writing. Product marketing is another area that I see a lot of internships for.
And as a person, let's say straight out of school, joining tech writing, and start to grow their career. What are some maybe career growth options that the person might experience or should perhaps expect over time?
hmm Definitely, product marketing is one area to look into if they can get into tech writing, and if they're not quite if enjoying the technical aspects, but they enjoy writing. Definitely product marketing is one area to switch to. Another area would be product management because technical writers who write about the product have to know the product inside out. And if they understand the domain, then that's something that they can look into. I've had many of my colleagues who've worked in technical writing move out of tech writing into product management because they've um, had developed expertise in the domain.
Yes, I've seen a couple of those as well, and they become quite
Mhm.
successful there.
Yeah.
One of the questions I have is on the writing part of the tech writing. So when a person might imagine a tech writer, they might imagine a writer who writes in a way on technology. And some of maybe images that we see on writing in many movies is someone sitting with their laptops on coffee shops um, with coffee and kind of trying to do something creative. Is writing process for tech writing for many people from a daily experience perspective, is it similar to other types of writing, or is it much more involved with other people? How's the daily kind of life for a tech writer?
Yeah, it's very different from creative writing. I would say it's quite the opposite of creative writing. So you cannot be sitting in a cafe all by yourself writing tech talks. You have to be sitting with your subject matter experts. You know, they could be product managers, they could be engineers, they could be solutions consultants, but you have to be working together with them. It's a very collaborative process, and so uh, it's different from a creative writing process which you could do on your own. This is involved. It needs a lot of hands on deck, and um, you can't do it by yourself because it's iterative. You have to there's a lot of back and forth. Once you build a draft of a technical doc, you have to go back to your engineers. They have to verify and vet and make sure that the content is technically accurate, because if it's not, you've just cost the support group a huge issue, because your customers won't be able to use the documentation to get their jobs done.
Interesting. What do you think are maybe some, you mentioned that you have other options, potentially going into law or going into fashion. What are some pros and cons of maybe picking or maybe some of the experience or the challenges of tech writing? So what could someone expect to maybe gain, but maybe some challenges to encounter as they pick this career?
So you have to love exploring and being curious about products and applications. You have to be able to pick it apart. So if you like to experiment, if you like to take risks, and you like to uh, pick apart a product, this would be a good profession. And you like to write about it, uh, this would be a good profession. And you also have to consider if you like, you know, working in a small company versus a large company, where things are much more slow moving than a small company. And those are some of the things that can help you decide where you want to go. For me, it boiled down to um, writing about a product that I would be able to influence. So when I um, worked at Remedy Corporation, I had the opportunity to work very closely with the usability and design team. And so we actually went to a customer site where we had the customers do prototyping with us. And that was able, we were able to influence the design of the product based on their feedback. And so that really made me stick around in this field, because we have a way to really influence the final way a product is built.
I think that you mentioned regarding one of the things we talked about is degrees, and people coming from linguistic, coming from English. When someone is thinking about, or maybe have a degree, and looking into tech writing, how does degrees or academia plays a role from a brand perspective, from a level of education perspective, from discipline? So let's say somebody who studied maybe not English, maybe studied something different, biology. How does that play a role in getting those first opportunity in tech writing?
Again, it depends on what what you're interested in. So if you really love to write, because that is going to be the primary responsibility, is writing about something, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, um, you have to love to be able to write. And you have to love to do research. So if you're coming from a field that is outside of communications, um, you must be curious, and you must have the qualities that allow you to go to many different folks, do your own research so that you know about the field that you're writing about. um, I would say that's critical, is good communication skills, good writing skills, and then good research skills.
Okay. So I know personally when we started talking, I knew nothing about tech writers' interviews. So I worked with them, but I have no idea how their interviews go. I'm quite familiar with other professions. What are tech writers' interviews are like? What can someone expect to be asked? What type of prerequisite things that you can bring in advance in order to being considered, or how do you prepare for that?
Yeah, you have to have a portfolio of writing samples. So that's one thing you need. Even if you're coming into the profession as a brand new entry level, any kind of writing samples would be good to have. In fact, it's expected, just so that the folks who are interviewing can judge whether you can write. If they catch typos, then that's a red flag. So you have to be an excellent writer, an excellent editor, and the other thing to expect in a tech writing interview is being able to go up to the whiteboard and write about a task. So someone can tell you, give you the basics of a feature, and then you have to be able to write about using it, even basic steps, providing instructions on how to use something. The other thing would be editing tests. Typically, we would give some content that has not been edited and have the person edit it on the spot during an interview. So those are some basic things that we expect.
Okay. And when a person looking into, let's say, go online to a job board, looking into tech writing positions, there is different types of position. Some of them will be full-time, some of them might be contract-based. I know that happens sometimes. What are some things to consider when looking into tech writing position? How to compare different opportunities? So let's say the full-time versus the contract is one example, but it could also be other factors. What are some factors to consider?
If you're new to the field and you're not sure if this is the right profession, I would say start with a contract, because you can evaluate quickly if this is something that is of interest to you. And in a contract, it's a short-term project. You'll very quickly know whether you enjoy it or not. Whereas a full-time opportunity is you're confined to it, and you can't really leave. You can leave, but it's not as flexible as a contract opportunity. So if you're unsure, start with a contract, and many companies these days offer opportunities to move from a contract to a full-time position. So that's another way to move into the profession if you enjoy it.
Yes, that's a good tip, especially if you're not sure, you can try and see. And interview is both ways. So when a company interviews you, you also interview them in a way. Sometimes you'll have more than one opportunity. One of the things I want to ask you is that you've been managing for quite some time, quite successfully, I remember. What are some tips for maybe picking a manager or picking a company as a tech writer in order to make sure that you're going to have maybe good experience with your manager or the company, or their expectations or understanding what tech writers even is supposed to do?
I watch out for qualities that I myself value. So I look for, compassion, kindness, open-mindedness, and risk-taking. That's one of the key things for me when I'm looking for a new opportunity. Is my manager going to allow me to experiment and fail so that I can learn from those experiences? Is my manager willing to take risks on my behalf? And so those are the key things that I watch out for when I'm looking for a new opportunity.
Interesting. And going to maybe the English major of looking into tech writing opportunities, what are some other maybe other options that a person might have as part of content creation? So you mentioned product marketing. Is that something that often people also get in directly, or what are some other things that you see similar fields to tech writing that someone should consider?
Yeah, product marketing is a natural fit, I would say, because again, the skills required there, being able to write well, and especially if you have a creative bent of mind, product marketing would be a great fit for someone who's more creative, because technical writing doesn't allow you that flexibility in terms of being creative. You have to provide exact experiences when you're building technical documentation. So there's really no room for creativity there. Um, so product marketing would be a good fit for someone who's an English major, or even just marketing, being able to build, collaterals. A lot of folks go into proposal writing, which is another form of writing, but it's different from technical writing. So that would be another career path to choose.
Yeah. So maybe last thought about this field. Any tips for maybe resources for someone who is looking into getting into tech writing? Should consider maybe like books or other types of information that they can find additional help there or learn more?
Yeah. The Society for Technical Communication is a good resource, so sdc.org. And that is basically a group of like hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of tech writers who have a common forum to get together and discuss trends in technology, what's going on in the space. It's a great way to also get started in the tech writing field. If you're new to it, there are opportunities that are posted there for internships and entry level openings. So that would be a great space to start.
And last question. I think that you mentioned you were debating between early in your career between tech writing, fashion, and lawyer.
Not fashion, design.
Sorry, design. Oh, what type of design?
I was thinking about architecture.
Oh,
So yeah.
would you today, if you were not in software, would you go to architecture? You go into law, or would you do something completely different?
I don't know. I've thought about that. I think I'm if I had to do it all over again, maybe I would go into law.
Into law. That's cool. That's also, I think, an area where you need to write,
Yes.
like it, and research.
Right, and
But there are
debate.
some similarities. Hey, thank you very much, Debjani,
Yeah.
for sharing from your experience. I know it's if someone is interested in getting into the field, they will find it quite valuable, and I really
Thank you.
appreciate chatting with you.
Yeah,
And
same here.
good to see you
Thanks
again.
for having me. All right. Thanks very much.